Welcome back to the ExperienceFlow AI Videocast series, Perspectives on Enterprise AI. I'm your host, Brent Haley, throughout this thought leadership journey. And this videocast is sponsored by ExperienceFlow AI, a pioneer in building autonomous AI solutions to augment humans and unlock the potential of your enterprise. ExperienceFlow has been in stealth mode for the past few years, building their enterprise digital nervous system, EDNS for short. We'll talk a little bit about that today in our episode. But the topic of today is about AI agents. And ExperienceFlow has been working in this field for a while. And today, again, I have with me Atul Bhatnagar, the CEO of ExperienceFlow AI. Atul, welcome back to the series.
Thanks, Brent. Always a joy and honor to be here.
I think we're going to have a great topic and some really interesting information. This is going to be a multi-session discussion throughout our episode series, kind of moving forward, and we'll talk about that. But let's just jump in and talk about AI agents, right? It's a buzz. It seems to be everywhere in the AI podcast world right now. And my question, when ExperienceFlow has been in this for a while, give me your take on this. I read your blog the other day, but give me your take on AI agents.
I think, first of all, Brent, this has definitely become a buzzword for almost every company. If you rewind 25 years or so, everybody had a .com website and everybody was an internet company. I think something similar is going on. Just because you had a website didn't make you a e-commerce internet company. It was a different architecture. I think same thing will happen here. Just because somebody is using the word agent doesn't make them a AI architecture. I think agents are going to differentiate themselves along many axes, but one of the main axes will be intelligence. And depending on that level of intelligence or thinking ability or ability to drive decisions, agents will differentiate. And different AI technologies, different models will differentiate along those lines. So I think when you hear the word agent, you really have to go deeper into what exactly this thing does. What and how much intelligence does this thing have for driving your decisions? That's the key axis we focus on.
And in your blog, you had a great statement. I think you called it a lot of what we're seeing today is more of a wrapper. Give me an idea what you meant by that.
Yeah, agents interact with the environment. And after interaction with the environment, they make some, they come to some conclusions. So the wrapper agents, in my mind, they interact with, for example, a LLM-based system, and they come up with some combination of output. There's not really much intelligence there. There's no trial and error. There is no prediction. There's no planning. It's just interactions. That's what I call wrapper agent. And again, there are applications where that might be useful. But I think if you're focused on enterprise, which is a very dynamic environment, that is not going to do your job.
And you mentioned intelligent decision-making agents, right? Planning decision-making agents. I mean, how do we go, or how does ExperienceFlow even implement going from this wrapper agent to this intelligent decision-making agent?
Yeah, so let's go deeper into that. Basically, when you look at a typical enterprise is a very dynamic environment. There's no static situation. Even if you have a well-running formula, a year from now, that formula may be completely broken because competition or technology, just moves too fast. So for enterprise decision making, that's where we focus on. You need that intelligence, and particularly, you always need to calculate the optimal path to the goals and KPIs in the real world. Enterprise operates in the real world. So what that means is that any model or any technology trained with static data, static logic, is pretty handicapped. Whereas we do our intelligent agents with reinforcement learning, based architectures. And that gives us ability to learn in a very dynamic environment. It gives us ability to do trial and error. It gives the ability for us to do simulations and kind of see how this will unfold before we drive a decision. So that gives us complete competence in planning into the future in a dynamic environment. So we're not using static logic, we're not using some static rules. We are actually runtime doing trial and error, the way you play game of chess. When you play a game of chess, you really, in your mind, you make many moves and you kind of unfold it. Then you realize, nope, this is not going to do it. You rewind, then you make another move. That's trial and error. So in some ways, our intelligent agents learn the way a child learns. How does a child learn? Child does trial and error. And there's some key objectives in child's mind. It may be as simple as standing upright and not falling down. And everything is optimized from that point onwards with trial and error. So that's kind of how RL intelligent agents work. They learn in a dynamic situation, and then they drive the decisions in an optimal manner by doing the trial and error.
And we just put out a new video, and you talk a little bit about that with the agents, the plan, control, and improve agents, very much like an AlphaGo or, like you said, chess moves. Give me a little bit more detail on those three different areas and what the responsibilities of agents are.
So when you look at enterprise, again, objectives, KPIs, goals, we always put a plan. We put an optimal plan to the best of our ability. So the planning agent, based on the model, based on the objectives, based on the optimal path I described, actually puts together that optimal plan. But you and I both know you can put as many optimal plans, but dynamism happens, stochasticity happens, and goals change. Now, when the goals change, the control agent starts those simulations, those chess-like moves, and says, based on these changes, I think the previous plan no longer works, but there is a new plan. And this is the optimal plan based on the current situation. So that's what the control agent does. And while doing that, the third agent, which is improve agent, that focuses on how can we improve? What is the best practice in this particular process or in this particular role in the enterprise? Because every company has best practices, and every company has people who are performing at the top level. So your goal is to bring that process or that technique across the board. So that's the last agent, the improve agent. And with those three agents, every role strives to achieve optimal goals, optimal results.
Yeah, I think that's what we're seeing, again in the environment today, and that is the big question, right? Can these agents be brought into an enterprise and actually give benefit and actually be deployed, right? Versus, a wrapper agent or just a single token ask and come back, which is kind of a generalized LLM of some sort that's out there. To that, and we had an episode on this, but I'm going to bring it back. Data, right? We have reinforcement learning, but to start that or to build that model, there is a question right now around large models versus very specific models focused like at a business level, like a CFO or a chief procurement officer or a field agent. Give me an idea of how you think about that, agentic workflow or process agentic system being built up.
Yeah, I think there are going to be two approaches, industries or applications, which don't change a whole lot, where the rules or the flow is very well defined. And if anything, change is very gradual. There, I think some of these large language models could work, and they could adapt to that variability. But in real world, in fast moving enterprises where there's competition, there's pricing changes, there's technological changes, there is channel changes, there is market changes. There, the dynamism is too fast. The static data, and even if you have large amounts of data, that doesn't guarantee anything into the future. There, the reinforcement learning based dynamic agents, intelligent agents, they learn the new tricks of the trade. They learn the new optimal path. They drive that new optimal path towards the goal. So my sense is that those dynamic industries where the changes are happening more frequently would value this reinforcement learning based decision making, where you don't have hallucination. Past data may be driving your decision, but the decision change again and again, causing hallucination. Where in the case of reinforcement learning based outcomes, you'll see that reliable outcome, reliable predictions, reliable planning, which enterprises will value a lot. In addition to adaptability, because these RL intelligent agents are adaptable. They're learning, they're doing trial and error, they're doing simulation. So we see that as a more hand in glove technology for enterprise planning.
And when you talk about like beginning the model or having these sources, the other question is how much data do we need to actually begin, right? And I think you guys have a very interesting take on that. Could you tell our viewers
Yeah,
that?
I think the beauty about trial and error and the reinforcement learning is even if you have very limited data, you can get going. And then with time, as it's learning, as it's doing simulations, it's constantly improving. And you can also guide it a little bit during that training process, towards optimal outcomes, towards optimal behavior. But over time, you don't need gobs of data. You're pretty, and that's kind of how we all learn. If you look at how we learn, it's not that Brent now is solving a problem. Brent is going to bring a new model, or Brent is going to look for new data. Brent actually has some very key objectives in his mind. And they can start with safety, for example. They can start with well-being. They can start with few key other objectives. Those are enough to start the optimization. And that's how you make a decision. And even if you make a wrong decision, you recorrect and you go again. I think that's how we all learn. So this approach is a lot more based on that trial and error, simulation, planning, executing the plan, then figuring out what the outcome is, then improving again. So there's a constant feedback loop. And that feedback loop gives the stability and outcomes.
Well, let's keep on with some trending news, right? So Nvidia had some news this last week again, and they're kind of promoting, again, another company promoting agentic workflows, right? And they talk about NIMs as being agents. But I think the interesting thing that I wanted to ask you about is, they talk about agents talking to agents and agents and this whole array of, again, multiple agents. And my question to you is, how do we bring all that together? How do we tie it together in, I think, what you're calling a nervous system, right? But give me your thoughts on tying all those agents together, because I think that's one of the big questions in the market right now.
So this is complex. I think the coordination of multitude of agents is non-trivial. And that's one area we are focusing on, one-click deployment of large number of agents. They can scale, and the architecture is such that the inter-agent communication is very seamless. They are all optimizing that overall objective together. It's not micro objectives. It's actually few key overall objectives, which then is split into multiple objectives, and they are optimized. So cumulative outcome, for example, for an enterprise, revenue acceleration is a key objective. Gross margin is a key objective. Customer delight is a key objective. Compliance is a key objective. These are 4 or 5 key things. And then rest of the tree, rest of the system has to drive for their optimization. That's how we work. Mm-hmm. And then each of those roles in the enterprise is then supplemented by those 3 intelligent agents. So in our case, there's a tremendous one-click deployment of large number of agents, highly coordinated, moving in unison, always optimizing those macro objectives for the company.
Really, and I guess that's kind of the definition of agentic workflow, right?
Exactly.
Or agentic process and that stuff.
Exactly.
You guys are working with. Let's talk a little bit. I will go a little bit into helping our viewers. Of course, we've got agents. How do you help them look through all of this noise a little bit? And again, we're talking about enterprises, and the goal of this is: are agents ready for the enterprise? How do you tell the executive leaders and decision makers what to do at this point with this agent stuff?
I think you have to always go back to the key business problem you want to solve. And the business problem could be in the area of revenue acceleration. It could be in the gross margin optimization. It could be in productivity. For your company, you have to just pick that number one issue, which is causing you, business impedance. Focus on that. And I think it needs to be done step by step. Just solve that one problem with your agentic architecture and show the ROI. It's not, whereas I think going very broad in a very major horizontal way is just biting too much too fast. If you look again, internet is a good comparison. If you look at that, it took time before e-commerce really took off, and it took time before the key applications which will exploit internet really came forward. I think the same thing will happen. It'll move faster, definitely move faster than that. But my advice is just focus on the number one pain point, maybe number two. That's about it, not below that, because that aligns the organization. Everybody's motivated to solve the problem. Everybody is motivated to apply a new technology and the new process towards that. Once you have one key bowling pin hit, then you can work on the bowling pin number 2 and 3.
Step by step, right? Step by step,
Exactly.
trying to deal with your business stuff.
Exactly.
And all of these agents and all of this stuff. I mean, where security and compliance is always a big thing, and I think we promote this. But how does an enterprise think of this as a technology? Is it their technology? Is it a SaaS technology? How do they think about that from a capital expenditure kind of thought?
Yeah, I think in some ways the data is their data totally, and also the processes, the adaptations, the learning which is going on, it's also going on in their environment. So in some ways, the enterprise assets are that data, the process, the knowledge, and the people. So the way we work is that's all really belonging to the enterprise. The platform provides a gravitational field in which all these elements of enterprise can work. So our role is actually providing the platform in which these decisions can happen in a secure and reliable and safe manner.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, that's what we provide. And maintaining the complete privacy of data and complete IPR belongs to the enterprise.
So learning within their company and growing and building their own technology prowess.
Exactly.
Or AI
exactly.
brain, which I love. Well, I'm excited because I would love to have a companion or AI agent sitting next to me, helping me on a day-to-day basis as I talk to it. So I'm always looking forward to the new level of technology that we can drive. Thank you again for your time. Anything else that you'd like? I think the only other thing that I wanted to mention maybe is something on autonomous agents, but I don't know if I want to bring that word into the conversation.
I think that could be another topic we could take on.
Okay.
But this architecture with RL intelligent agents fundamentally puts the substrate, the foundation, on top of which you can build autonomous behavior. And that's where it'll go. Ultimately, it could take time, but that's where it'll go. The RL intelligent agents provide you the substrate to head towards autonomous behavior.
So thank you again, Atul, for your input and perspectives for our series. We'll see you again in the next episode.
Thanks, Brent. It was lovely being with you, and looking forward to our next session.
And viewers, hopefully you'll be able to subscribe and join us in our next episode. We're going to go a little bit deeper and a little bit more specific on how AI is actually improving gross margin. And join us then. Atul and I will go a little bit deeper. And till then, thank you very much and have a great day.